VlogYear day 31. So continuing with the questions from YouTube, Britch Christine 13 asks, if you could meet any beauty guru from YouTube, who would you want to meet? I've already been very fortunate to meet a lot of people that I have wanted to meet in the YouTube beauty world, but I really would love to meet Candy Johnson because I love her videos. I love her bubbly, happy attitude, and I just love everything about her. So I would probably be like, if I ever got to meet her, because I love her. Question number 2. Oh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to say this username. Okay, I'm just going to spell it out. XMIISZNINAX. There we go. If you were Elena from The Vampire Diaries and you had to choose between Damon or Stefan, who would you choose and why? Definitely Damon, because I just really like his personality. I love his sarcasm, and I just like the complexity of his character. Although Stefan has become a lot more complex after going to I don't want to give away too much if you haven't caught up on Vampire Diaries, but Stefan has changed a little and progressed throughout the show, but I would still choose Damon. Question number 3 from the Sarah with 2 A's, 09. How did you know what you wanted to major in? Do you have any tips on what to keep in mind when choosing? For me, it was always pretty easy because ever since I was a little kid, I was always very goal-oriented and had college in mind from probably when I was in elementary school. So I started planning out what I wanted to do very young. And I started off wanting to be a policewoman, then realized that probably not too cut out for that. Then briefly switched to wanting to be a teacher when I was still in elementary school. And then for a while, all the way up until I was right about to enter high school, wanted to do animation. And I was pretty set on that for a while and took animation classes, and then realized that I loved drawing, and that's the reason why I wanted to get into animation. I loved drawing so much, but then realized that animation wasn't really for me because there were more things that I disliked about animation than I liked. And I like animation, I just wouldn't be able to do it as a career. So I just kind of had been doing some really easy work for my dad, just kind of helping him here and there, and slowly started to realize that I really enjoyed it. And my dad had never pushed me to pursue architecture because he was an architect, and I always appreciated that. He was never pushy with anything. And one day I remember just going up to him and telling him, I think I want to pursue this as a career, and I think this is what I want to major in. And he was really surprised, but I think he was also really happy to have one of his children want to follow in his footsteps, like all on their own, just willingly wanting to do it. So I just decided to pursue architecture and pursued that all throughout high school and majored in it in college. And I always did very well in my high school classes, but I would say, this is kind of like going off topic because I just like gave you a little life story there, but I would just say, think about what you enjoy doing. That's what my dad would always ask me when I was younger and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. He would ask, well, what do you enjoy doing? And I came up with teacher because I liked helping people. And then I came up with animator because I liked drawing. And I came up with architecture because I still liked drawing. and I had tried out animation and it wasn't for me, and I had also dabbled in it a little bit with helping my dad with work. So that's my advice. Just figure out what you really like to do and then explore the different possibilities, and don't feel like you have to stick with one thing, because it's totally normal to switch majors in college and to change your mind. I think it's perfectly fine as long as you're kind of staying on some kind of path. So that is my advice as far as that stuff goes. So, question number 4 from Mrs. Megan R. Are you going to have an opening theme song for VlogYear? Yes, I really want to. So hopefully when I get back from Thailand, Luke and I will be able to make one. So I'm hoping that it'll be just as cool as the one for Vlogmas. I really like the one for Vlogmas, so I'm excited to make a new one. And question number 5. What was it like being a girl in a predominantly male subject? Now, this doesn't have a username, because this was actually a question that I had used as an example, and I saw a lot of people in the comments wanting an answer to this question. So here it is. It was very interesting. In high school, I started taking woodshop and architecture classes, and I was almost always the only girl. There sometimes were maybe 1 or 2 other girls in the class for maybe like a semester, but there were definitely times where I was the only girl in the class, and for the most part, I really liked it. I really liked being around just, especially in architecture, I liked being around people who thought the same way and who were very driven. And it was just a nice change to be around guys. So I'm very used to being around guys all the time, because that's pretty much what I have been surrounded by since I started high school. I had lots of classes that were just filled with all guys, so I feel like I can relate to guys very well. But I also like being a girly girl too. So yeah, for the most part, it was a great experience. I loved having that dynamic between guys and girls, because guys and girls think very differently, so we would approach projects differently, and it was a really good thing to have, especially in group settings, because you can see a totally different perspective. And also in design, girls have a different way of approaching things as opposed to guys. So I always thought that was very interesting. I would say that there is a downside to being a girl in a predominantly male subject or field of work in a professional setting, and that is that you kind of feel like you need to constantly be proving yourself, and it just feels a little bit more competitive, because you feel like you need to prove yourself. And I had always strived and worked so hard to like maintain the highest grades in the class, and a lot of guys are very supportive of that and are happy about that. But then there were also guys that were kind of put off by that and would just say rude comments to me that were inappropriate, like things along the lines like, oh, you must have that grade because you're doing stuff with the teacher and blah blah blah. And it was just kind of like, what? No, like, I don't know. It definitely made me feel uncomfortable, especially being younger and in high school. Once I got into college, it was kind of just like, okay, whatever. But when I was younger and I first heard that for the first time, it was just kind of like, what? And it just made me feel a little bit weird. But it's something that I learned to deal with, and for the most part, I earned the respect of the vast majority of my classmates. There were always a couple that were a little bit mean to me, but those are only a couple people out of a lot of people. So I really enjoyed the classmates that I had. It was kind of like a little family after a while, especially because you take a lot of the same classes with the same people, so you get to know each other, and it was a really great experience. So it's definitely not something that I regret. So let's see. That was actually the last question of the day. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye!